Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Null. I'd like to welcome you once again to our classrooms on the air. As you can see from all the different ones we've presented thus far, whether it's something on the behavioral end, like anger, taming the beast within, how to deal with anger without it hurting yourself or other people, overcoming depression and anxiety naturally and in a way that does not cause side effects. How to understand that we cannot go forward in life with all of our positive virtues if we have not had the courage and patience and time to reflect honestly upon our limitations. And therefore, that whole classroom on the air called Overcoming the Dark Side. How about the one on happiness? Something that we seem to be elusive of if we're in a success mindset. For example, we think success will buy us all the advantages of being happy. It doesn't work that way in the real world. Some of the happiest people in the world are some of the most humble, who have the least, and yet they have joy and happiness, purpose and meaning, and are willing to share that. I remember a video that I saw about a year ago. It was some people wanted to see what would happen when they gave a homeless person a $100 bill. They were in a van across the street. So they went over and they just handed the guy $100. Said it was for him. And he was surprised. He was a homeless person sitting outside the store. So he went in the store, which was a liquor store, but it obviously had other stuff in it. And he came out in a shopping cart with a lot of bags. And then they watched him as he walked across the street to a park. And in the park were homeless people, and he gave those homeless people food. And he didn't use any for himself. That's remarkable. I watched it. It touched my heart. It shows that when was the last time we thought of people who are disadvantaged as being responsible? We don't, and that's unfortunate because we're not in their shoes. We haven't gone through what they've gone. So I did a whole classroom on the air about never take your place in life for granted, because you don't know what it's like to be the other person. Don't envy other people. Don't envy their success. Be happy for their success. But what would you do if you had their success? Would you use the celebrity status and the money and the power that gives you to make it a better world? Would you go back into your neighborhoods and say, friends, what can we do to help this neighborhood? Well, we don't have a clinic to help people who've got drug problems. All right, let's build a clinic. We don't have a community garden. Well, let's ask the city to tear down that old dilapidated building there and let's put in a community garden. It's for the people here. Let's use people in the community to do it. You see, so I look at every problem as an opportunity to create a solution. And therefore, once you get your mindset into creating solution after solution after solution, you don't see problems as catastrophic or insurmountable. You see them, okay, now what can we do to deconstruct the problem and reconstruct a solution? And that's why this Classroom on the Air series that is free, as a public service, is for you. I don't deal in politics. I don't deal in ideologies or agendas. Let me give you an example. Today, I'm going to give you a shorter discussion, and this is about something that we desperately need that's not difficult. That is exercise. Why? Because as of today, only about 7% of the American population on a daily basis make choices that enhance their health or maintain it. Most people actually make choices either subconsciously or consciously, either know the consequence or not know the consequence and think there's not going to be a consequence, but there always is to the choices they make. I have spent my entire adult life as a scientist, as a communicator, as an investigative reporter, a journalist. I'm approaching my 1,000th article I published. I'm also a person with a background in the sciences, the healing sciences. I'm a nutritionist, dietitian, PhD in human nutrition and public health science, adjunct professor in clinical sciences, and a senior research fellow, having completed over 165 original scientific studies, many very important. All that leads me to where I'm at today, better understanding why we get sick, what is our role in getting sick, how we can prevent that sickness, And then if we are sick, how we can interdict good solutions into our illness to bring down our blood pressure and our blood sugar. And I'm going to give an example. I like to give examples to show you that it's not all clinical. It's very humanistic, and how this could help you as well. And it deals specifically with exercise. There's a very well-known woman. And everything I'm telling you, she has given me permission to share with you. She's a well-known broadcaster. In fact, she's an icon. Lead into this and the subject of exercise. About 9 weeks ago, I got a call from Utrice Lead, and it was a distress call. She had been in a battle in court with her landlord for over a year. She used up all of her savings. She only had a small income coming from Social Security. He wanted her apartment, her domicile, where she lived in for a long time, paying her rent. And now that she lost, she only had 10 days to move out. She looked around and she couldn't afford the rent anywhere. And she said, I literally am facing being on the street, living in a shelter. And what little income I have, I'm going to take my belongings and put them in storage. Could you help me? I said, of course. You can stay in my guest house. So she came over. What she didn't tell me was that she was near death. When she came, I didn't recognize her. She was all bent over. I mean, literally bent over. She couldn't walk 5 feet because of lung cancer. Didn't know about that. She was in excruciating pain because of her spine. Everything was out of alignment. And she handed me a letter. The letter was from her doctor. And the letter showed the medical records of the previous doctor that she had end-stage kidney failure, uncontrollable high blood pressure, I mean really high, stroke at any second, in spite of being on 3 medications for high blood pressure. She had diabetes uncontrolled. Even her fasting level in the morning with 2 medications for diabetes was still over 200. Plus she had lung cancer, and she had tachycardia, which can cause death. And she was 277 pounds. And being that morbidly obese and being 70 years of age and the stress upon the heart, remember, the heart cannot grow in proportion to the weight you've gained. It stays the same size, a little enlargement, but then you end up with all kinds of stress upon the heart, which itself increases blood pressure. And I said, okay, what do you want? What is the object of the exercise here? She said, I want to live. I said, well, based upon all these conditions, you have 7 conditions that lead to death prematurely. And you're right there right now, according to your doctor. She says, I'm aware of that now. I says, you mean you weren't aware at all when you were gaining weight? And she says, I didn't want to be aware. I was in denial. And now I am aware. Okay, well, we called the oncologist and called let's see, an internal medicine doctor. We called about 7 doctors, tried to get her medical care. Everybody was too busy. It could take weeks, even 3 months in one case with a pulmonologist for her lungs. So I said, so the only choice we have right now is what we can do with your lifestyle and behavior. It's non-medical, but let's see what we can do, because we had no other choice. And because there was no one for her to see. And I got all the medical records. She got the medical records from several hospitals and doctors' offices, and whoa, none of it was good. But here's what we have as of this week with new MRIs, new medical records, new tests, blood tests. As of this morning, she has lost 60 pounds, 60 pounds. That's taken enormous stress off her heart. Her heart rate went from 100 beats per minute, which is very high, down to 78 beats per minute. As of today, her blood pressure is completely normal. Her blood sugar, it was 91 this morning. which is high normal. And her doctor took her off all 9 medications she was on. And in a conversation I had with him at the beginning as her advocate, I asked, why is she on all these medicines? And did you tell her that she had acute kidney failure? And he hadn't. And did you look in the physician's desk reference saying that some of these medications cause renal failure? She didn't have renal failure in the hospital before because they weren't using those meds. You used the meds for 6 months. Now her kidneys are going. The MRIs and the blood chemistry show her kidneys are normal. The cancer in her is no longer metastasized. And so she's losing weight. And why? Because from not being able to walk, her first day, we said, okay, get a notebook. We're going to see how far you can go. She went 5 to 10 feet, couldn't go any further, stopped, bent over, huffing and puffing, massive amounts of mucus coming out of her. I mean, nonstop. And I said, tell me your diet. It was all dairy, refined carbohydrates, cheese. And I said, that causes mucus. So started cleansing. And cleansing means taking in only clean, healthy, organically grown produce, juicing, celery, cucumber, ginger, and garlic juice. And building with 1 glass of juice a day, then 2, then 3, then up to 10. Lots of water and stretching. And then positive thinking. And keep looking at the object of your goal, a healthy being. Again, no medicines because there were no doctors to treat her. All right. And she did get an internist, board-certified internist, who didn't know anything about lifestyle modification, sodium in the diet causing high blood pressure, nothing. So she was on a high sodium intake, I guess about 10,000 milligrams a day of sodium. And now she's on 800 milligrams from natural foods. Blood pressure comes down, blood sugar comes down, no refined carbohydrates, and she's exercising. So now her heart is being challenged less. Nutrients to help the heart, help the system, positive mindset, being able to think positively. And that was a hard thing. First 2 weeks, it was all negative. I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. The doctor says, there's no hope. Put your life in order, go into hospice care. And I said, that's the doctor. Did your doctor ever tell you about a healthy diet? No. About why to exercise and de-stress? No, just medication. So now we had a doctor visit, and the doctor, in a report written, says that kidney function, fine, no longer acute kidney failure. Liver, fine. Digestive system, fine. The weight, phenomenal loss. Blood sugar normal, blood pressure normal, and no longer any metastasizing of cancer in her lungs. No mucus. And yesterday she walked 4 miles, from 10 feet to 4 miles, body straight up now. And she's using all the different muscles. And because of her weight, going back and forth in a swimming pool with water weights, meaning they're like sponges, but when you put them in the water, they take on the weight of the water, walking and curling, arms out, arms back, arms over the head. And all these muscles are now tightening up. And she said, look, I got a muscle now. And that's terrific. So she's got another, I'm going to suggest another 70 pounds to lose. And it's going off, not because of starvation. She eats huge salads, and she makes Caribbean dishes from her, remembering all the great dishes her mom made, and she's duplicating on her brother and sister, both medical doctors, and they're very happy with her progress. So why is this story important? Because what happens when we are motivated to live? Motivation to say, I'm worth a life. I'm going to create a legacy. Even if my legacy is just caring and sharing for other people, doing something right. So she makes her bed every morning. She cleans up after herself. And And her audience, she keeps up to date. And she's posted her blood work up and MRIs, and going from virtually death, where a doctor says, there's no more that medicine can do for you. The meds are not working. And put your life in order. Say your goodbyes while you still can. Well, now she's saying hello to a whole new self. You can hear her on PRN.Live, PRN.Live, Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And she's a very conscientious person, but now she's mastering her own life. And that's where your journey of exercise begins. Don't exercise because you want to look good for other people or get acceptance from other people. See what I did? Do it because you're honoring your own life. Everything you do will matter either positive or negative. So just remember, even cheating a little bit is still going to be negative. And sooner or later, there's a consequence, especially the older we get. The body's less able to defend itself, less able to have a strong immune system, less able to keep your muscle mass together. But when you exercise, when you take L-glutamine and creatine monohydrate and branched amino acids and the right amount of vegetable protein within 20 minutes after exercising in a smoothie, you're gaining muscle. You're getting that protoplasm. So now you're going to have strength, endurance, stamina, flexibility, balance, endurance that you didn't have before. You're going to feel good because every day when she's out on the road exercising, she's like, emotionally, I feel better. I said, those are endorphins. Those are those good, feel-good hormones the brain secretes when you're exercising. And that's why we call it the runner's high. Because I'm a competitive athlete from 7th grade in high school to this moment. The awards you see on those are not for exercise. That's in the gym. Those are like 500 athlete of the year and the breaking world records, national records, local, state. I've done all that and still competing. Just a couple months ago, set a new state record in the 2 miles and won the gold in the 3,000 meters in the same morning in torrential rain where I couldn't get footing because the water was up over my running shoes. And you hit the wrong place and boom, your leg gives out and you go down and then you're out of the race. So even breaking the records, I did it having to go slower to be safe in cold rain. But I'm going to be competing to the last day of my life. And I'm not competing to win against anyone. I have too much respect for the other athletes to do that. I compete to keep myself strong, aware. In effect, as I make my bed every morning, you can bounce a quarter off of it. Then I go out and everything I do with the same mindset. A simple lesson. Be conscious, be focused, be aware that everything has an outcome. When you lie, there's an outcome. When you lose trust because you've lied, there's an outcome. Because what do we have to share with another human being when we don't have trust? We have nothing to share. That the energy exchange is broken. So don't lie to people. Live with the consequences of being honest. I'm honest in all my broadcasts. I don't pull punches in my interviews. I say what I think is important to be said, and people might like it or not like it. But it's honest. It's out there. You lie, you bury the truth. Then you forget where you buried it. And then you start lying to cover up a lie, and then all the time people are lying. So just be honest about loving yourself, motivate yourself, start and do what you can, keep a record of it, get a impedance test. You can buy an impedance scale for like $40. That tells you the percentage of your body fat, mass, body weight in water, and bone, muscle. And you need to know that because then you have your diary. You keep it on a regular basis. All right? And then use meditation and yoga and mindfulness, awareness to keep yourself calm. Use breathing exercises to breathe deeply. I just got this and I saw a big difference in just my breathing. This is one of those little inexpensive gadgets. There's a whole bunch of different ones. And what you do, you breathe into it for 60 seconds. You breathe like this. little steel ball in there and you can hear it and see it moving. Well, that expands your capacity to breathe. So for those of you who have COPD or emphysema, or you're athletic and you want to get more oxygen deeper into the diaphragm, that helps. Simple things. All right. We need to do our abs, our exercise. We need to stretch. We need to keep our muscles loose and flexible. And when you're exercising, you're increasing the human growth hormone, which keeps you younger longer. So feel-good hormones, cleansing and detoxifying the body with juices, rejuvenating with beans and legumes and pulses and seeds and nuts and vitamin C and D3 and B complex and a multivitamin, zinc, calcium, magnesium for your heart. Taking your time, slow living, contemplative. Make your effort to go to the farmer's market, to a health food store, and buy stuff that you're going to be. What you're eating, consuming, that's you. So when you do this, it builds strength, but it also builds a longer life. You're lengthening your telomeres, the end caps of chromosomes. And those longer telomeres mean a longer life. Bring your pulse rate down. Bring your blood pressure down to normal, your blood sugar down to normal. We're an overly medicated society. Who says that? Everyone in medicine. Dr. Angel, the editor-in-chief of the New England Journal of Medicine, said that. Others have said that. We should start looking at prevention, what we can do not to get overweight, not to get sick, not to have all these pro-inflammatory chemicals, alcohol, in fried foods and deep fried foods in particular, all the trans fats. When you can do that, then just like making your bed in the morning, you've made your meal the way you make your bed with conscious focus. Simple, nothing complicated. Again, never confuse the complexity of a problem with the simplicity of its solution. That's it for this Classroom on the Air on exercise with a human interest story, a person who's on the road to recovery, road to reclaiming life, is dealing with stress differently today in a positive way. All right? And go to PRN.Live and listen to all the other broadcasters who have important stories to share with you every day, 24/7. And GaryNull.live or GaryNull.com for my articles and documentaries. I produced, written, directed over 100 documentaries. And currently the most popular documentary at the International Independent Film Festival is Science for Hire. And last year it was Cost of Denial. The year before that, it was the environmental film that shows you the state of the world and what we have to do to become responsible at the personal level as well as the collective and group level to save our planet. Also saving the planet one bite at a time, curing the incurable. You'll see all these documentaries up there. Download them. All right? Have a nice day.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for progressive voices.